What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video. Happy Monday to all of you. I hope you all enjoyed your holiday weekends and stayed safe out there. I know that I did. Today we are going to be talking about a plethora of different updates that Netmarble decided to drop on us overnight, which include, but are not limited to, characters getting buffed, new characters being added into the game, new in-game shop items, and more. So before we get into all of that, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. So let's go ahead and talk about the character buffs first and foremost, because they are currently live in the game. They are currently available. And so first and foremost, we're going to talk about the boy himself, Melodies, and see what changed for him. So really with Melodies, the big thing that is going to have changed here is going to be on his S2 and on his S3. As you can see here, he is now going to have a 50% chance to remove super or hyper armor on knee crush, so that has been increased to 50%. So overall with Melodies here, he is in a better position, I feel, than he was before. He was already an extremely powerful PvP character. For those of you who have not been playing Championship and testing these characters lately, he is extremely good there. So this is only going to continue to help him in that regard. But it only gets better for him with his S3, because he now also has an interrupt on his S3, which is his virtual body doubles. So overall, the nice thing about that second buff that he got is the fact that it will pertain to kind of a cross mode way, where it is going to be good not just in PvP but also in PvE. So this character in general in a pretty good spot overall. He is not going to be anything extremely broken in PvE, although he is powerful in certain regards. But in PvP, which is really where this character was designed to shine, he is now even better. So I know a lot of people out there are big fans of him for PvP right now, and this is only going to add more fuel to the fire for him. But very nice to see that they didn't just buff Merlin with this update. You know, I don't know how much of this was knee-jerk one way or the other to a lot of the reactions from the fan base over these characters one way or the other, but either way, it is nice to see this stuff. So yeah, that is going to be Melodies. He has an interrupt. He got a buff to his chance to remove the super or the hyper armor. So overall, very, very nice for him. Now, it only gets better though, because we're going to talk about a character that I've already told you guys that you need to make sure that you are pulling for, and that is going to be Merlin. So we already knew that Merlin was going to be getting hyper armor on her S2, which is her Icicle Castle, which she now does have. So all of you out there that have been doom posting about it for the past week, you can breathe for the first time in the past 7 days. Be happy, she has her hyper armor. But they did you one better though, because that isn't all they did for this character, which really, to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of surprised that they went as far as they did with her, because she really did not need as much as they gave her, but they really just decided to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this character. So let's talk about what she has besides the hyper armor, because we've already known, like I said, for several days about that. So on her S1, she now has a 100% chance to ignore the target's guard upon landing a successful attack. So with her S1, you're going to have a love-hate relationship with this skill. So in PvE, it tends to be her weaker skill, because it doesn't donate very well to her awakening rotation. It's kind of goofy for PvE. It's one of those skills that really are just going to kind of spam out there against bosses, but really when it comes to her juggling ability, like I said, with her awakening rotation and things like that, it's not going to pertain as much. It's not going to make as much of an impact. However, in PvP, 100% chance to ignore the target's guard on what is basically just going to be a different reskinned version of Brianna's football throw is going to be extremely good. This character in PvP has been a monster so far for the past week, and this is only going to make her even more of a monster. In fact, I almost get the feeling that this character might be a big ban candidate for a lot of people going forward. We'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, but honestly, this character is looking really, really good there. But in PvE, I've already shown you guys some of the footage. I'm sure you've seen it on your own time as well. You might have even experienced it yourself if you've been building her up. She is very, very, very nice in PvE as well. Later on this week, I had already had a video cut, edited, and ready to go today, but we're going to wait now and hold off because of these buffs. where I was going over all of her skills and showing you guys some really ridiculous gameplay in PvE, and I will be doing that later on this week, but just know that you want this character. So next up, on her S3, this is where it gets nutty. So basically now on her S3, she is going to have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown of her S2 upon landing a skill on a cooldown of 15 seconds. So they gave her skill reset, guys, on her S2, which gives her her damage immunity. This character, I love this character. I'm so happy with where this character's at. I feel like this is overkill. I feel like they went way too far here, but I'm not going to complain. I fully invested into her. Mine's A5, so whatever. They can do whatever they want at this point if they want to keep buffing her, buffer. So it is what it is. But yeah, for those of you who have Merlin, who got lucky enough to get her, for those of you who do have her, be happy. For those of you who don't have her, pull her. She is going to be a character you want. So next up here, we're going to talk about the free-to-play Elizabeth, because she did get a small buff, and it's going to be on her Pork Shoulder Bomber, which is still one of my favorite names for a attack in the game, to be honest with you guys. But with her Pork Shoulder Bomber, gosh, I just want to keep saying that, she is now going to increase penetration by 400 for 7 seconds. So they added some penetration in there. Pretty nice overall. 400 for 7 seconds is a decent amount. So it's not going to do anything to make her, you know, Uber tier or anything like that. She's still a free-to-play character, but the free-to-play characters on this collab, which I've already told you guys, are very good. In fact, the Melodies is very powerful. So for those of you on a budget who need good budget characters, she is a really good option, as well as the Melodies. But this just made her a little bit stronger. However, it's not going to be anything game-breaking. It's a small change, but it's a welcome one. Anytime they buff free-to-play characters, which by all rights they don't really have a whole lot of incentive to do so, it's always nice to see. So that is going to be that. Next up, we are going to talk about Bon. So Bon is another character, and really this is a character that's extremely PvP-centric. Really the only things you would necessarily use him for in PvE is if you just need a generic nuke character that is going to just do a ton of damage. So you can probably find a few uses for him here and there, like your Hall of Elements and so on and so forth, if you just need to get as much damage out as possible. But with him, he did get a buff to his skill 2, which is going to be that he becomes immune to damage for 3 seconds. So basically, people are complaining that he doesn't have hyper armor, right? And they seem to be confused here, so I'm going to try and shine some light on this, because it's actually very, very nice that he has this instead of hyper armor. So he's going to have super armor, he's also going to have damage immunity on the same skill. They both have the same duration. People are complaining about the fact that it's not hyper armor, but keep in mind that there are now going to be characters such as Melodies running around that can remove hyper armor and super armor. So the fact that even if he runs into a Melodies or a character that can remove those things in general, because I'm sure that that is going to be a mechanic you see in more and more of down the road, this character is going to be able to maintain and retain his damage immunity in PvP. So that is going to be something very nice for him. This character is very specialized and very well tinkered and put together for PvP, and honestly, this is better for him than if he would have had hyper armor, because it gives him a little bit more flexibility and versatility in matchups where you might run into those types of characters with those types of skills. So overall, don't be upset by this. This character is in a very good spot, especially for those of you who take live PvP very seriously. My opinion of him is you will want him because he is going to be a nightmare for people in that mode. So definitely a good character overall, and I think that this made him that much better in that regard. So finally, we have one more buff that we need to talk about, but we're actually going to have to get out of here, and we are going to have to go in here, and I will have to show you guys this way, because he is actually not on the current banners, and that is going to be the free-to-play Melodies. So the free-to-play Melodies also got a buff. It's not a huge one. He actually got the same buff as we saw on the free-to-play Elizabeth. he is now going to have an increase to his penetration by 400 for 7 seconds when using a skill. Never mind the 200 that's here. I haven't built up my free-to-play one. I am planning on showcasing him and building him up later on. But he will have, at max, 400 for 7 seconds on his penetration on his skill 2. So overall, all of these characters got buffed. They're all welcome buffs. The free-to-play characters even got some love, which is very nice. Again, they didn't have to do that because these are free characters, and they, by all rights, could have just ignored them, and probably no one would have ever batted an eyelash. And yes, they aren't huge buffs, but the buffs that they did get are nice to have. Anytime they touch any of these free characters is always nice for you budget players. So that is going to be the buffs, guys. We'll be talking about them, I'm sure, in more detail later on throughout the week. But next up, we are going to go ahead and move on to some of the other news. But to do that, we are going to jump over here to the forum, and we are going to check out some of this news as it pertains to things being added into the game later on today and into tomorrow. So the first thing that I want to go ahead and talk about here is going to be the new fighters and battle cards being added in for the Volume 2 run for the 7 Deadly Sins. These will be added in later on tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going to be getting the Tavern Master Melodies, King, Diane, and Dancer Elizabeth for this second volume banner. We already knew this. This was stuff that we had confirmed on the Korean live stream. So nothing of any type of surprise here, although I would say that maybe the release window on these is a little bit earlier than some people thought. But still, we will welcome this and be happy about this. Do not complain, but it is very cool that we are getting these. We'll talk more about these in depth tomorrow because we don't necessarily have a clear-cut idea on what these kits will look like right now. We did get what we saw in the Korean live stream of these kits, which you can find the link to the video in the description where I went over all of that. Otherwise, if you want it in text form, you can go over to my Discord. The link will be in the description for that as well, and check those out. However, being that they did change these characters already upon release as well as after release, I get the feeling that this volume might also have changes made to it. Time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. But it'll be interesting to kind of check that out when these guys drop, because I do get the feeling that they might have tinkered with some of these characters in the background from what we already knew. But again, we have no confirmation on whether that is the case or not. Now, next up here in this same kind of dev note, we are also going to see that they are going to be adding in packages for Volume 2. These packages are pretty much a copy-paste of the Volume 1 packages. So as you'll see here, you're basically going to have exactly what you see already in the game for Volume 1, but for Volume 2. So pretty much the story remains the same with those as far as my opinions on those types of things. Now, next up down here, we are also going to be getting a pass. So we knew we were getting a pass. That was something that we saw on the live stream. We knew it was coming. It pretty much comes with any collaboration at this point. But you'll be able to see the rewards here. We'll do a detailed breakdown and discussion about this probably in tomorrow's video. But as far as the value proposition with these things, they tend to be, with the regular ones, just okay. And with these newer ones for the collabs recently, like we saw with the 7 Nights collab, they tend to be a little bit stronger. And judging from what is here for the big boy one, which is usually the $50 pass, it does look like there's potentially some value there, but I'm going to wait and see for this stuff, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. But that's pretty much what we are looking at as far as stuff that is going to be added in here in the immediate future. So again, we are going to be seeing this stuff later on tonight. Make sure that you are ready, willing, and able to pull for these characters, because I get the feeling that this banner might actually be low-key really, really good. But again, we do not have any sort of confirmation whatsoever on what the kits look like on these characters, and I would not assume that the translations that are floating around on these kits are going to be 100% accurate, just due to prior history. So that's pretty much what we're looking at here, guys. So overall, This is some pretty nice stuff that we're getting here. The fact that we are going to be seeing these characters released later on tonight means that we will have a pretty good idea overall of what this collaboration looked like in a nutshell come tomorrow, when we can actually take a look at the final kind of roster for this collaboration. We'll talk about all that in tomorrow's video, but there's one last thing that I really want to talk about to you guys before I end this video. And it may not be something that is going to be a surprise for people who are veterans to the game, but being that I have seen so many new players asking me questions in my comment section and on Discord, I want to make sure that you guys are aware of this. So basically, with the Rush Dungeon, one of the biggest selling points of these Rush Dungeons whenever these collaborations come around has become the fact that we get these boxes. So basically, these boxes are going to give you purple souls for all these different characters on a random chance. You're going to get these boxes for clearing this entire thing. So basically, my recommendation is always to build up a bunch of AP, burn a bunch of AP pots, so on and so forth, which has admittedly become a little bit expensive, especially for the AP with this, because I've been burning through a ton of it. But basically, what you want to do is you want to try and build up a team that is going to be made up of as many 7 Deadly Sins characters and cards as humanly possible, so that you can maximize your return for your coins first and foremost. As you'll see here, I have been doing and taking full advantage of it. But really the big focus is on these, because with these, you might think if you're a new player that this is really good to build up your characters. However, that may be the case, but one thing I want to show you guys, and the way that a lot of veteran players use these things, is what we're going to do is we're going to get these different boxes, right? So as you'll see here from my overnights last night, I have all these different boxes. I'm going to go ahead and redeem these here, and then I'm going to show you guys what you can do alternatively with these to building up your characters. So basically, once you've got your characters built up, for instance, if you're a new player, you can start doing this. Otherwise, you could just do this in general and just use the generic souls for your characters. Although I know for your new players that might not be as easy, because you guys aren't going to have as many options and as many of those generic souls to do this. But if you do, and you're in that position, my suggestion is to take these souls, salvage them out, as you'll see here. So you go in, salvage these out. You'll see I get a bunch of purple dust there, and then I can go in here to that same shop, and I can pick up these tokens here. So these tokens are going to be for the unified banner, and I have a ton of these things. As you'll see, I can show you my inventory real quick and show you guys exactly what I'm playing around here with these tokens. So basically, I have 20 multis total worth of tokens right now. So my suggestion to you guys, and the reason why I do this, is because I want to have as many tokens as humanly possible, and I also want to have a stockpile of purple dust going forward so I can continue to buy these every day, because this resets every day. That way you guys will have plenty of these tokens. That way you don't have to burn rubies on the unified banner going forward. This is always the perfect opportunity with these collaborations to get as much purple dust as possible. So my suggestion to you guys is to try and take advantage of this as best you can. As you'll see down there, I still have a ton of purple dust laying around, and I am only going to get more as I continue to farm this. But that's just kind of more of a advanced tip for new players, and something that veterans are already aware of and already do, I'm sure. I know that most of the people that I talk to that are veterans do this on a daily basis, but just try to take full advantage. But that's going to be today's video, guys. We'll be back tomorrow talking about this part of the update and going over these characters' kits when they drop and are officially live in the game. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow for that video. I'll talk to y'all real soon. Peace.
Game over.